Most people today think medieval clay ovens were only for baking bread.
But in the late 13th century, in my village high in the mountains, one oven could do far more.
With a single firing, we could bake bread, roast meat, simmer beans overnight, dry fruits and herbs.
Keep cheese warm for hours, and even make enough soap to last the whole winter.
No electricity, no machinery, just clay, straw, wood, and skill. I am Toma, a craftsman and cook in this village. Today, I'll show you exactly how we built such a system, the same way my father and grandfather did before me.
A system that heated our homes, cooked our food, and produced cleaning supplies, all from one pile of wood.
And you can still build it today, with materials you can find almost anywhere.
If you've only known modern ovens and appliances, what comes next might surprise
To
you.
a time when every brick and every spark was used to its fullest.
Clay isn't just dirt. You shape into walls, it's a living material if you know how to use it. In the right mix, it can store heat deep inside its body, then release it in slow, steady waves over many hours, even days. We call this thermal mass. And if you build the oven correctly, you can program that mass to let the heat out in stages 5, to be exact. 1 firing 5 completely different cooking environments. I've spent my life learning which clay holds heat the longest, which dome shape stands strong after hundreds of firings, which thickness gives you just the right balance between fuel use and cooking time. My grandfather taught me without books, without instruments, only by watching and listening. He'd toss a pinch of flour on the hot brick floor. If it browned in 10 seconds, we knew we were at bread heat. Too fast, too hot, too slow. You'd miss the perfect crust. In our village, no single family built an oven alone. We pooled our labor, dug the clay together, shared the wood. The oven wasn't just for bread. It was for roasting, simmering, drying, keeping warm. It was the center of the village, a place where heat and skill fed everyone. 1 firing, 5 stages. This is how you get the most from every spark of wood you burn. Watch closely because I'll walk you through each step. Stage 1, bread heat, 260 degrees C. After the fire burns down, I test the oven floor the way my grandfather taught me by tossing a pinch of flour onto the hot bricks. If it browns in exactly 10 seconds, the heat is perfect. Any faster, and the crust will burn before the inside is baked through. Any slower, and the loaf will dry out instead of sealing in its moisture. At this heat, the dough rises quickly, forming a crisp shell that keeps the bread fresh for days. Stage 2, roasting 200 degrees. As the heat drops, I slide in joints of mutton-whole poultry or trays of root vegetables. This temperature browns the outside while cooking the inside, evenly locking in juices without the need for constant turning. The thick clay walls radiate a steady, even warmth, just like a modern convection oven, but with no electricity. Stage 3, stewing 150 degrees C. Now the oven is ready for slow cooking. I place clay pots filled with beans, barley, and onions deep inside and close the door. Overnight, the gentle heat works through the food, softening tough fibers and blending flavors. By morning, you'll have a meal richer and more complex than anything cooked in haste. Stage 4, drying 95 degrees C. With most of the fire's energy spent, the oven becomes a drying chamber. I hang bunches of sage thyme and mint from hooks and lay apple slices or peppers on racks. This low, consistent warmth removes moisture without scorching, preserving the harvest for months. Stage 5, warming and storage. Finally, the oven becomes a gentle warmer. Bread stays soft, stews remain ready for the next meal, and bowls of milk can slowly turn into cheese. It's also a safe space to keep cooked food away from pests. Master these stages, and you'll never waste a single degree of heat. In the Middle Ages, this was survival. Today, it's how you turn one fire into a week's worth of comfort. To build your oven, you'll need clay-rich soil, coarse sand, chopped straw, and fire bricks for the base. Historical excavations in York, England, and Dordogne, France, show this same combination was used in communal ovens from the 12th to 15th centuries. The typical mix was 3 parts clay-rich soil to 1 part coarse sand, with chopped straw as fiber reinforcement, exactly what I use. Add straw until the mix feels firm but not sticky. The best way, Use your feet just as medieval builders did. Step and press and twist until it blends evenly. Test by shaping a ball. Archaeological notes from Get Alone. Castle's reconstruction confirm this ball test was standard for checking clay quality. Lay your fire bricks or flat stones, as in 13th century Tuscan ovens, in a circle about 80 centimeters in diameter. Medieval builders used water to check level, documented in 14th century Italian building manuals. Shape a sand dome about 40 meters high. Remains of similar domes have been found at 13th century bakehouses in Norfolk. Cover with clay 10-15 centimeters thick. Analysis of surviving ovens shows this range balances durability and heat efficiency. Keep the doorway at 63% of dome height, a proportion recorded in 15th century German guild manuals. Dry 3-4 days, then remove sand. A hollow ring sound test is mentioned in medieval French masonry notes, proof the dome is ready. Now that the oven is cooling, we can use its ash for something just as important as food soap. The chemistry is the same as it was centuries ago. Hardwood ash gives us lye. Lye mixed with fat gives us soap. First, choose only white ash from hardwoods like oak or beech. Softwood ash contains resins that ruin the process. Separate out charcoal pieces you need the fine powder. Add 1 cup of ash to 3 cups of rainwater and boil for 30 minutes. Always use rainwater. Minerals in well water will weaken the lye. Strain through cloth until you have a clear liquid. This is where I warn you, never touch lye with bare hands. I've seen men lose skin from one careless splash. Test the strength with the egg method. If the egg floats with just the tip above water, it's right. For saponification, warm your rendered animal fat to body temperature. Mix equal parts fat and room temperature lye. Stir constantly with a wooden spoon, never metal. My grandfather always told me to stir in one direction. He swore it made a smoother soap. When the mixture leaves a trace, as you drag the spoon, pour into cloth-lined molds and let it rest. 1 pile of wood, 5 cooking stages, home heating, and enough soap to last the whole winter. That's the strength of this system. You're not building just an oven. You're building a complete household engine. Every step feeds the next. The fire cooks your bread, roasts your meat, simmers your beans. The falling heat dries your harvest, warms your home, and incubates your cheese. The ash becomes lye, and the lye becomes soap. Nothing wasted. In the Middle Ages, this thinking was normal. We didn't have one tool for each job. We had one system that did everything. The same structure replaced what today takes an oven, a stove, a slow cooker, a dehydrator, a heater, and a washing machine, plus the chemical plants that make your soap. Modern life splits these into separate machines, each one needing its own power repairs and replacements. This medieval design needed only local materials, a little maintenance, and skill. If you want true efficiency, stop thinking in parts and start thinking in systems. Build it, once learn how to run it, and it will serve you season after season, just as it did for my family, and for generations before them. But what about summer, I ask, standing in the same courtyard where the oven kept us warm through winter? When the sun bakes the fields and fresh food spoils in a single day, the answer is older than you might think. Archaeological records from as far back as 3000 BCE show desert civilizations mastering a simple trick, cooling with clay sand and water. In ancient Egypt, tall jars stood in shaded courtyards, their walls sweating away the day's heat. In Mesopotamia, similar vessels called zir kept water fresh and vegetables crisp. The principle was always the same. Evaporation pulls heat out. We found the same solution here. 2 unglazed clay pots, one nestled inside the other, with a layer of damp sand between them. The water seeps through the outer pot's pores, evaporates into the air, and takes heat, with it dropping the inside temperature without a single block of ice. In my village, we used it to keep milk from turning, herbs from wilting, and fruit from spoiling. No smoke, no fire, just the quiet work of earth and water, fighting the summer heat as surely as the oven fights the winter cold. There are 2 ways to get a clay pot cooler. Track A, build it yourself. Track B, buy it ready-made from a potter. Either way, the principle stays the same. Track A, DIY method. You'll need 2 unglazed clay pots, one larger, one smaller, so that when nested, there's at least 2 and 3 centimeters of space between them. The height difference should be no more than the width of your hand. Too tall, and the cool air will rise and escape too quickly. I place the smaller pot inside, the larger, then fill the gap with clean, damp river sand. Pour water over the sand until it's fully saturated, but not puddling. Test the fit. The inner pot should sit level and stable without wobbling. Track B. Buying from a potter. Some villages have craftsmen who make double-walled jars in one piece. If you find one, check that the clay is unglazed, and porous glaze will block evaporation and kill the cooling effect. Once your cooler is ready, wet the outer surface thoroughly. As the water seeps through and evaporates, the inside temperature drops. I keep mine in the shade where the wind can still reach it. Too much sun will heat the outer wall faster than the water can cool it. My tip, I always roughen the outer surface with a stone before use. The tiny grooves increase surface area, which speeds evaporation and makes the cooling effect last longer. On the hottest days, that small detail can be the difference between milk spoiling by noon or lasting until the next morning. To test it, place a bowl of water inside and check after an hour. If it feels noticeably cooler than the air, you've built it right. If not, adjust the sand moisture or move it to a breezier spot. Simple materials, no moving parts, just clay, sand, and water working together to turn scorching heat into storage-safe coolness. A clay pot cooler is only as good as the care you give it. Like any tool, it needs regular attention to keep working at its best. Daily watering. The outer sand layer should never dry out completely. Each morning, I pour just enough water into the gap between the pots to keep it damp. Too much water will puddle and slow evaporation. Too little, and the cooling stops. The sweet spot is when the sand feels moist, but not muddy to the touch. Cloth cover. I always cover the mouth of the inner pot with a damp cloth. This traps the cool air inside and slows down warm air from entering. It also keeps dust, insects, and curious animals away from your food. A tightly woven linen cloth works best thick enough to block sunlight light enough to let air pass. Positioning. Where you place the cooler matters. I keep mine in full shade with a steady breeze if possible. Wind is good, but too much wind will dry the sand faster than you can refill it. My advice: if the wind is strong, shield it, water will vanish quickly and you won't get cooler air. A simple woven screen or low wall works well as a windbreak. Applications. This isn't just for milk and vegetables. I've kept herbs fresh for a week, cooled drinking water to a refreshing temperature, and even stored soft cheeses without them turning sour. In hotter climates, some families bury the bottom half of the cooler in the ground for extra insulation. With daily care, a clay pot cooler can last for years. No moving parts, no repairs, just a quiet, steady guardian against the heat, doing the same job it did for our ancestors thousands of years ago. Toma stands between the clay oven and the pot cooler, one hand resting on each. The fire inside the oven glows softly. The pot cooler sweats gently in the shade. One holds the heat, he says the other holds the cold. Both born from earth fire and water. No electricity, no plastic, just skill. He looks at the camera. In my village, we don't think in single tools. We think in systems. The oven and the cooler work together, one for winter, one for summer. This is efficiency through integrated thinking. And somewhere along the way, in chasing convenience, we lost that resilience. Toma steps back, giving a last look at both systems. You don't have to rebuild my whole world, he says, smiling. But try one piece. Build the oven. Make the cooler. See how it feels to depend on skill instead of switches. He nods toward the audience. So, what impresses you more, the deep, even warmth of fire, or the quiet, steady coolness of clay?